$4.5 trillion tax cuts approved by the House. $4.5 trillion tax cuts included by the House. And we're going to discuss it, and also maybe the possibility of a $5,000 stimulus check might be included in this tax cut bill. So let's go over some of the information, some of the facts real quick. So $4.5 trillion in tax cut have been approved by the House of Representatives. That's about $2.5 trillion in spending cuts. In addition to that, they're going to be also eliminating a lot of government programs that's not necessary, and also trying to find out the ones that's needed that they need to continue to supply. So also in the Senate, there's also a bill is also in proposal going through the Senate, and the Senate might also be voting, but it's not the same bill, but it's the same kind of tax cuts bill that they're trying to focus on in order to get things back to, you know, out of the deficit and more towards like a surplus in a way. But we never know if that's going to happen no time soon. So what else is going on in this bill? The bill that's $4.5 trillion tax cuts that was approved by the House. We also got in this bill is going to extend the Tax Cuts and Job Act of 2017 for middle-class people. So middle-class working America, back in 2017, there was a tax cuts to reduce the tax liability, I think, from middle-class America, and that act ended up reducing the taxes for middle-class America and extending the tax cuts, and they want to do that with this budget. So with this new Trump cut tax approved budget that's approved by the House, they also want to end up keeping the Job Act, the Tax Cuts and Job Act of 2017. They want to keep that on the table and keep that going, right? So that's going to be helping out the middle class, lowering the middle class taxes. Also, what they want to include in this Trump tax cuts that was approved by the House, they're going to improve it by having the tips. So there's going to be no taxes on tip. No taxes, you know, if you work in a restaurant or you work in the service industry, you're getting tips. There's going to be no taxes on tips, right? In addition to no taxes on tips, there will be no taxes on overtime. So overtime also won't be taxed. You know, you go to work, you put in some extra hours, you're thinking that you're going to get a big payout, but by the time you see that money and you get to look at that money, you end up seeing that your paycheck was reduced by more than, probably even sometimes more than what you was going to get if you didn't even work overtime, right? Because of the amount of overtime that you're doing, it pushes your wages up there, so it gets taxed. So what this tax cut is also saying is no taxes on overtime. So you're doing overtime, you're getting some extra money, there will be no taxes on overtime. Social Security income, SSI, SSDI, Social Security benefits, all those programs which pay out within the Social Security income bracket, those also will not be taxed. And it's kind of crazy. I didn't even think that Social Security get taxed like that. It never dawned on me, like, because you already, well, not you not even already paid tax, but when you work and you pay your Social Security, you thought that would be also the tax part right there, like in an investment. I don't even know, but I guess when they pay out the Social Security to people who receive Social Security income, the SSI, the SSDI, those people that get those benefits, their benefits won't be, well, their income won't be taxed under this $4.5 trillion tax cuts that was approved by the House. Under the current, not the current approved because it's not approved, but the current, the bill that was proposed, we're not going to be seeing any taxes, like I said, on tips, on overtime, and SSI. Social Security income will not be taxed as well. So that's a good thing, because a lot of people was complaining that even though SSI had an increase, I think an increase about $50 to $80 a month or something like that. Now, hopefully that increase will not be taxed like that. So that's a good thing. It won't be that much taxes on, it won't be that much taxes on that things. So that's a good thing. Maybe for people who are SSI recipients won't be taxed as much, right? So the reason why all of this is coming about is because we're running a deficit, and right now the United States is actually not even running on a budget. There hasn't been a budget for the last couple years now. So the fiscal budget has been like keep getting extended, and there's no exact budget that's in place, right? Let me see if I can. Right, so that's why they're going with this 2024, because in 2024 there was a $2 trillion deficit. So that means that taxpayers was paying their taxes, and that's how the government get revenue, right? It's through taxes. So they said $4.9 trillion was collected in taxes, but the government spent an extra $2 trillion, almost $2 trillion in government spending. So that's how the deficit ended up being almost $2 trillion, because even though $4.9 trillion was brought in, almost $2 trillion extra was spent on government spending. So that's why they're trying to put this Trump tax cut in place and trying to have it passed so they can reduce some of the spending. They can get out of this deficit and hopefully create a surplus. That's where the $5,000 stimulus check will also come in. It's not even a stimulus check. It'll be like, they call it a dividends check, because what's going to happen is basically the money that they're going to be saving from the tax cuts and what Doge is going to be doing, they're going to end up going into the money that they're saving, and about 20% they want to give back to households who are paying in the taxes. So that ends up being about $5,000 per household. And that's not exactly definite yet, because it's just a proposal. These are just bills. These are not laws yet. So cutting spending, they're trying to cut spending to reduce the deficit, but it might affect the economy in some way. So we have to also be careful about that. If they're cutting spending, and because they have to cut spending in order to reduce the taxes, because like I said, the only way that the United States get revenue is through taxing the people who are working or business. So in order to continue to have revenue coming in, you either have to continue to tax higher, or lower some of the costs. So what they want to do in order to reduce the deficit, they want to create more tax cuts, and at the same time reduce spending within the government. So that means jobs will be lost. Some departments might be closed down. Funding will be cut back. Some of the government funding will be cut back. And there's various ways, different funding. And maybe some private contracts might end up losing out on contracts. So it will be some hurt. It will be some pain while they're doing this. But at the same time, the budget needs to be fixed. The budget needs to be created. And the deficit needs to be eliminated, so you can be more in a surplus instead of a deficit, right? Because if we don't have a deficit, if we continue to have a deficit, what we're going to have to end up doing is borrowing money, and you have to end up borrowing money from other countries or things like that. And what's other ways of the United States getting money? So you have to either create more taxes, borrow money, or borrow money from other countries, or borrow money from the Federal Reserve Bank, which is not a government entity. That's a whole different topic, a whole different business. So in order to balance the budget, we're going to either have to increase income, like I said. So increase income for the United States will have to be through taxes. We already discussed that. Or we cut expensive, which was reduce fundings. So that could affect unemployment, could affect the Social Security income benefits, and also a lot of funding to different programs could also be affected or cut back. So the only other way, like I said, was either have to be borrowing money or borrowing money from other countries, or going through the Federal Reserve. And we really don't want that, because if you're going to be borrowing money, you're basically going to be putting money back into the economy, and you're not exactly creating revenue. You're basically printing money, and that's how we end up being in the situation of inflation, because the government, during the pandemic era, they end up printing a lot of money. So a lot of money end up going into the economy, and a lot of people see it as free money. The pandemic money during 2020 to about 2021, 2022, the pandemic money, people felt like they was rich. Like, I remember hearing people talk about, they was able to collect unemployment, and unemployment was more than their regular paycheck. In addition to collecting unemployment money, they're you have people doing the PPP loans, getting the grants and stuff from the PPP loans, and also the stimulus checks. So people was getting thousands of dollars worth of stimulus checks. In addition to that, some people were creating fake businesses and getting some of that PPP money, and well, they're gonna have to pay it back. If not, people could be going to jail for that. And also, people was getting unemployment. So their unemployment, like I said, some people were saying that the unemployment check that they was getting paid out was even more than what they was getting at their regular job, at the, whatever they was working. So the unemployment coming more than the regular check, people thought they was rich. People thought they had more money than what they're usually accustomed to, and it wasn't being invested. It was going back into spending, into the consumer, into so now consumers was having more money to spend. So it wasn't going back in investment, it was going back into spending, which made the prices go up. With printing money, the dollar was not the same as how it was a couple years ago, so the dollar loses its value. And the people that will be benefiting from all of this, with the prices going up and inflation, is, they call hidden inflation, is like, well, they call inflation like a hidden taxes. Because what happened is, like, we basically got a lot of, not free money, but extra money because of the stimulus, and money was printed. So money went back into the economy, not exactly free money, but it was stimulus check money. So it was money that was printed out. It wasn't borrowed. The money wasn't created from any revenue or cutting back from any actually, some of the stimulus check money end up coming from entitlement program. So in a way, that's why you can see that right now they're cutting back on some of the entitlement programs. So entitlement programs, stuff like SNAP benefits, Section 8, food stamps, unemployment, money through the SNAP benefits. And so those type of funding was cut back because they took some of the money from there to do, I think it was the reconciliation bill, where we was able to, I think they sent out like a $1,400 stimulus check or something like that. One of those bills, it was like the last stimulus check that went out. It came through, I think it was called the reconciliation bill or something like that. Don't quote me for exact, right? But through that act, or through that bill, that stimulus check was created, but the money came from the entitlement program. It didn't come from like any cutting any funds or cutting back on any department or reestablishing the budget, or it was basically free money and money that was coming from the entitlement program that was already established. So you can even see like stuff like Social Security, like, so if you're paying into your Social Security and you're looking at it on your pay stub, you can see that Social Security, the amount that you're paying in Social Security has gone up significantly from a few years ago. So look into some of that stuff, man. Just be consumers. We have to be more aware of what's going on with the economy. Pay attention to prices going up, because prices going up is like a hidden taxes, right? It's hidden taxes, and that's the cause, or that's the name of inflation. It's hidden taxes because with the free money coming to the economy, the dollar's not worth the same amount. Eggs are more than what they were before, right? So you have to look at the economy. Look at eggs right now. Eggs probably like 50 cents a egg. So you have to look out for that and the economy and how the economy is going, because we're faced with inflation, and between we're faced with inflations, and the consumers right now are paying the prices, especially between the year of 2020 to 2025. Investors are the ones that's profiting from it though, because the investors are the one who's able to put money into the things that are going to be benefiting from these inflation prices, right? So you got investors putting money into like the Amazons, the Targets, the Walmarts, or the big name brands, and they're putting money in that. As inflation go up, they're going to be gaining more money because the price is going up. So that's putting more money into their pockets because of inflation and that hidden tax, right? So investors definitely are creating profit off of it and benefit from inflation. Now, most people are workers and consumers, and we get that money, that free money, that printed money, we're gonna go out and spend it, right? We're gonna spend it into these different stores. So that's how investors gain from it, because the consumers are putting the money back into the consumer and services instead of investing it where they can profit off of it. So from the year 2020 to 2025, inflation has gone up by 23%. So that's why they're trying to do a lot of these tax cuts. And that's why the House approved the tax cuts, because they have to cut back on some of these extra spending. They have to cut back on taxes in order to, basically in order to have the people happy, because off of President Trump, off his campaign, he was running off of that, tax cuts, helping out the middle class and creating more tax cuts. And in order to create more tax cuts, what we're gonna have to do is reduce government spending. And some people are not happy with in reducing government spending, and some people are up for it. The reason people not happy for reducing government spending, because a lot of jobs will be eliminated, a lot of departments will be reduced, and a lot of funding will be cut back, not kickback, will be cut back. The stock market over the last 5 years, not 25 years, from 2020 to 2025, the stock market has grown by about almost 80%, according to reports from Minority Mindset. If you check out Minority Mindset, he has a lot of details and information in regards to finance and in regards to the economy, because I think he's a tax lawyer, something like that, or finance lawyer. So Minority Mindset give out a lot of information. So if you want to go ahead and check out Minority Mindset, you can get some of these information in regards to the numbers, such as the stock market has been green by about 80% over the last 5 years. So inflation hurts the common person and not the investors. And to get through it, we will be facing with some pain. We're going to be facing with some hard times, some hurt times. And maybe to get through it, we might have to end up working extra jobs, working more. And you might have to end up working more overtime. So in order to get through these tough times, you might have to include some overtime. So maybe some of these things that's going to be in the tax cuts, such as no tips on overtime, or no tips on, I said no tips on overtime, no taxes on overtime, or no taxes on tips. Those things right there could help out, going forward with these hard times, because some people might have to work an extra job. Maybe you pick up a part-time job as a waiter, so you're going to have to be able to get your tips and extra money. You don't want that being taxed, right? You don't want that being taxed, because you're working to get some extra money so you can live, so you can get through the pain of how the economy might end up being right now, right? So we have to figure ways through it. So we can't just out-earn inflation. There's no way to really out-earn inflation. Yeah, we can do overtime. Yes, we can do all the extra jobs and things like that, but the median income is not going to outgrow inflation, because check it out, like the median income increased by 20%, but inflation has rose by 23%, right? Inflation has grown by 23%, but the median income has only grown by 20%. So that means 3% is missing. That means inflation is 3% higher than the regular increase of income. So you're still gonna have to find a way to get through it, right? Still gonna be some hard times. Still gotta get through the pain. You can't out-earn inflation though, because the average income will not out-earn inflation, or the median house income will not out earn inflation. Unless you're a career, like a lawyer, a doctor, or a stockbroker or something like that, in those veins, maybe you can outgrow the inflation. But the thing is, it's going to be hard. But investors can, and anybody can be an investor, right? Anybody can be an investor. You go ahead, you study, you learn how to invest. You get a stockbroker, or you become a broker yourself, or you can be a accredited investor. You learn how to become an accredited investor. You take the Series 65 test and stuff like that, because the economical system is designed for investors and benefit investors. So you are an investor, you're going to benefit a lot from this economical system. Being a consumer, we're going to be hit. We're going to be the ones that's paying the prices, the one that's going through the pain, the one that's going through the hurt. The tax